Yoon-sung found himself in a courtroom frustrated and angry after receiving a 200-hour community service sentence for stealing from a jewelry store. He felt that the punishment was too severe, and he even questioned if his lack of a mother had influenced the judge's decision. In a fit of anger, he grabbed a chair and slammed it on the floor while shouting his discontent, even suggesting that judges should be doing community service work themselves. The loud noise from the chair hitting the floor prompted immediate intervention from police officers who were concerned about the judge's well-being. The judge, taken aback by this outburst, especially after 15 years of handling juvenile cases, he instructed Yoon-sung to pick up the chair, warning him that it could be seen as an insult to the legal system if he didn't comply. Yoon-sung's guardian attempted to intervene, but Yoon-sung responded disrespectfully to the judge, leading to the application of Juvenile Law No. 9. Subsequently, the police escorted Yoon-sung and other young offenders to Yangshan Information and Communication School, colloquially known as Yangshan Detention School. It was a facility where underage criminals from various backgrounds were housed. An officer advised Yoon-sung not to make eye contact with fellow detainees and to walk in a straight line. However, a robust-looking individual at the school recognized Yoon-sung as Lee Yoon-sung from Yoon-sungjian Middle School. Despite the officer's attempt to prevent the man Han Ji-hoon from approaching Yoon-sung, Ji-hoon remarked that it had been a long time and urged Yoon-sung to come to him after roll call. After this interaction, another officer warned Yoon-sung about Ji-hoon, describing him as someone at the facility for blackmail and sexual assault. The officer also made a derogatory comment about Yoon-sung's association with Ji-hoon. This officer was identified as Correctional Officer Lee Gwakian, responsible for managing the detainees in the school. Meanwhile, when Ji-hoon's friend inquired about Yoon-sung, Ji-hoon dismissed him as a loser, referencing his reputation from middle school. Yoon-sung later encountered Ji-hoon and another person who taunted and assaulted him. Ji-hoon questioned if Yoon-sung thought he was different now, referring to his time in the detention center. Ji-hoon made references to Yoon-sung's suicide attempt in a school restroom, which had led to charges of school violence against them. During this tense confrontation, Ji-hoon asked Yoon-sung to remove his pants like in the old days, provoking anger and discomfort. Yoon-sung's response, however, was surprising. He agreed that he missed Ji-hoon and proceeded to kiss him, taking Ji-hoon off guard. Correctional Officer Lee recollected a past encounter with Yoon-sung. In that encounter, Yoon-sung had made a troubling accusation suggesting that the officer was involved in a case of statutory rape. This revelation deeply concerned the officer, as he feared Yoon-sung might possess knowledge of the incident. Yoon-sung also knew about the officer's inappropriate encounter with an underage girl, which further added to the officer's unease. Returning to the present, Yoon-sung aggressively confronted Ji-hoon, leading to a violent altercation. Ji-hoon's friends rushed to get Correctional Officer Lee, while Yoon-sung inflicted severe injuries upon Ji-hoon. The confrontation was marked by brutality, and Yoon-sung displayed his fighting skills and aggressiveness. Yoon-sung overpowered Ji-hoon's friend, and Ji-hoon attempted to attack Yoon-sung with a wooden bar. However, Yoon-sung remained unscathed and retaliated by pummeling Ji-hoon's face, ultimately fracturing Ji-hoon's ankle. Ji-hoon, writhing in agony, implored Yoon-sung to stop and express remorse for his past mistreatment and bullying. Yoon-sung coldly responded to Ji-hoon's plea by twisting his other foot until it too broke. In this intense moment, Ji-hoon implored Yoon-sung to stop and apologize for any wrongdoings. Yoon-sung reflected on his motivations for learning to fight, citing his discontent with the South Korean legal system and his desire for revenge. As the violence continued, Correctional Officer Lee arrived at the scene to intervene and halt Yoon-sung's actions. Upon hearing the warden's voice, Yoon-sung released Ji-hoon's foot. Yoon-sung then approached the warden with the intent to share a humorous story. He leaned in and whispered that he had come to seek revenge, but not against Ji-hoon. The warden's actions were minor compared to what another individual had done to him. He had come to meet that person. Meanwhile, someone informed Park Sang-yeol, a former amateur kickboxing medalist who was bullying some guys, that a certain Lee Yoon-sung had broken Yoon-sung's ankle. In the past, Park Sang-yeol had been an eccentric individual. He had a habit of trying out strange experiments he had seen online. For instance, he once came across a video about a drink that was so peculiar you couldn't distinguish it from urine. Out of sheer curiosity, he grabbed a glass of the drink and a glass of his urine and asked Yoon-sung to taste and compare them. Sang-yeol's curiosity knew no bounds. On one occasion, he had watched a video about the effects of consuming laxatives and an antidiarrheal pill together. His curiosity led him to use Yoon-sung as a subject for this experiment, despite warnings that it could be dangerous and harm the intestines. One day, Park and his friends made Yoon-sung carry all their bags and barged into his house, knowing that his mother, grandma, and sister were not at home. They ransacked the place while Yoon-sung helplessly tried to stop them. Suddenly, Park checked Yoon-sung's forehead and asked if he had a cold because he had been sweating profusely. Yoon-sung was puzzled by Park's actions, but when he offered him medicine to feel better, Yoon-sung momentarily regarded him as a friend and took the pill without knowing it was cold medicine. After taking the pill, Yoon-sung started to hallucinate and eventually passed out, feeling as if he were floating on water, and even his unusual friends seemed comical, transforming into bizarre creatures. Park gave Yoon-sung a towel and instructed him to heat it in the microwave. However, an explosion occurred and Yoon-sung's home was engulfed in flames. After a while, he woke up in a hospital with 2 officers from the Seodong police station present to take his statement. He couldn't recall their questions, but his house had been completely destroyed and his face bore a large burn scar. A few days later, when he returned to school, Sang-yeol made a sarcastic comment about the explosion being bigger than what he had seen on YouTube. He told Yoon-sung to be thankful because he had dragged him down to the first floor. When Yoon-sung didn't respond, Sang-yeol became furious at him for not showing gratitude. Yoon-sung reflected that the scariest aspect of bullying is encountering someone with whom you can't communicate, that feeling of hopelessness when you don't know where to begin a conversation. He believed that the fear of this imagination leads people to give up. After school, he visited the House of Hope 119, where his mother and grandmother were. His mom asked him why he had told the officer that he had set the house on fire. He explained that the officers had informed him that all his other friends had blamed him for setting the house on fire after taking a pill. His mother questioned what they should do since they couldn't claim insurance for the fire and might even face charges for insurance fraud. They also couldn't afford to compensate their neighbors for damage. Their situation was dire. Returning to the present, the correctional officer escorted Yoon-sung to another room where Park Sang-yeol was being held. He explained that there had been an incident necessitating a temporary change in Yoon-sung's room. He asked the inmates in that room to welcome Yoon-sung and help him with any questions. Yoon-sung concealed his face with a pile of towels, and when the correctional officer departed, one of the guys attempted to provoke Yoon-sung. Yoon-sung swiftly kicked him down and the others rushed to retaliate. From behind the towels, Yoon-sung declared that he had come to meet the curious guy and revealed his face. Sang-yeol recognized him and Yoon-sung inquired if Sang-yeol still possessed his insatiable curiosity. When Sang-yeol expressed his curiosity, Yoon-sung offered to share the method to defeat a professional kickboxer with just one finger. Yoon-sung had a tattoo on his body resembling someone in the throes of being consumed by fire. When he got this tattoo, the artist inquired about its significance. Yoon-sung explained that it was a tribute to his grandmother, so he'd never forget her. In the present, Yoon-sung asked Sang-yeol if he understood how a kickboxer like him could be defeated with just one finger. Sang-yeol confessed that he had no idea, prompting Yoon-sung to ask him to ponder it. Unexpectedly, Yoon-sung retrieved a spray from under the blankets and aimed it at Sang-yeol's eyes. Then he delivered a forceful kick to Sang-yeol's groin, causing him to cry out in agony. Sang-yeol couldn't open his eyes as they were stinging terribly. Seizing this opportunity, Yoon-sung began landing punches on Sang-yeol's face and delivering kicks to his stomach. He had learned that the key to fighting was to target the opponent's lower body if they defended their upper body and vice versa. Sang-yeol tried to punch back, but his vision was compromised and his attempts were futile. He believed that if he could buy enough time to clear his eyes, he could defeat Yoon-sung. Sang-yeol flailed punches into thin air in an attempt to hit Yoon-sung, but Yoon-sung used a towel to trap his arm and twisted it, forcing him to kneel. Yoon-sung then struck Sang-yeol's face and slammed it onto the ground, causing bleeding. Yoon-sung taunted Sang-yeol, asking how it felt to be beaten with a towel that had been heated in a microwave. Yoon-sung reminisced about his grandmother who had fallen into a coma after her house was destroyed. She had pretended everything was fine in front of her family, but her condition deteriorated upon seeing Yoon-sung's burn mark. Unexpectedly, Sang-yeol thanked Yoon-sung because he had managed to clear his eyes using his blood and could now see. Sang-yeol attempted to kick Yoon-sung and questioned if he wanted to die. Yoon-sung skillfully evaded his attacks. Sang-yeol cornered Yoon-sung against a wall and commented on how it brought them back to a time when Yoon-sung made a buzzing sound like a bug every time he was beaten. He mocked Yoon-sung for wheezing and moaning back, then vowing to beat him even worse this time for crossing the line with the spray. Meanwhile, Yoon-sung recalled advice from his fighting trainer. The trainer had suggested using a spray to blind the opponent and placing something like a blanket on the ground. Yoon-sung followed these instructions. When Sang-yeol attempted to kick him, he stumbled due to the blanket and Yoon-sung seized the opportunity to attack. In the past, Sang-yeol had mocked Yoon-sung during a live stream, revealing that Yoon-sung's nickname at school was Two-Face and accusing him of starting the fire. Sang-yeol had also promised to show Yoon-sung's grandmother, who was in a coma because of him, in the next live stream. Yoosung couldn't forget these moments, so he continued to pummel Sang-yeol, relentlessly punching him and breaking his finger. Sang-yeol cried out in pain, but Yoosung didn't relent because he remembered Sang-yeol's merciless taunts about his grandmother. Yoosung proceeded to stuff fabric clips into Sang-yeol's mouth, declaring that Sang-yeol's constant chatter had always been the issue. He told Sang-yeol to stop talking because talking was something only humans did, and he resumed his assault. Yoosung knew that some people advised letting go of the past and moving on, claiming that time would heal all wounds. However, Yoosung vehemently rejected that notion. He had learned to fight because he despised those who tried to diminish the pain he had endured. 5 months later, in a jail cell at the detention center, Yoosung choked Sang-yeol until he passed out. He then instructed another inmate to check on Sang-yeol and recorded that it was the 4th time Sang-yeol had passed out that day. Over the past 5 months, they had made Sang-yeol pass out a total of 898 times, and it was about to be his 900th time. Yoosung told the guy to keep watch, and the guy immediately warned that the officers were coming. The officer in charge, Kim Chong-ok, arrived and demanded to know why there was so much noise in cell number 203. Yoosung pointed out that the noise was coming from cell number 204, not their room, and asked why they were singled out. The officer told them to be quiet and left, muttering about not understanding why cell number 204 received special treatment. Another officer explained that they were under orders to protect Yoosung, and it was less than a week until his release. Yoosung noted that he would be leaving in the next 6 days and needed to start preparing for his next plan. Simultaneously, there was an announcement for visitors to gather in the meeting room under the guidance of their teachers. A woman came to the detention center to visit Yoosung, and during their meeting, she kept smiling at him. Yoosung asked her to stop smiling as it made him uncomfortable, but she explained that they were supposed to be playing siblings and needed to look like a family. Yoosung questioned why she was dressed in a suit, and she asked him to forget about it. She then inquired about how it felt to take revenge, to which Yoosung told her to stop with unnecessary talk and pass on the materials to the next guy. She complained about Yoosung's rudeness, but he instructed her about their next target, Yangbom. She shared information that Yangbom had moved to Gangnam and came from a wealthy family. The hospital director's grandson excelled in academics and cared for his classmates. In the meantime, Yangbom's teacher informed him that his grades had improved and gave him some notes to distribute to class 3. Yangbom noticed the ring on the teacher's hand and congratulated her on her upcoming wedding. As he left, he thought about the teacher with a creepy smile. Yoosung's pretend sister Joanna shared further information about Yangbom, mentioning that he was also a student council member and an exemplary student. She showed Yoosung a picture and asked if it was the guy he had talked about. Yoosung recalled that Yangbom had been present when Sang-yeol mocked him during the live stream. Yoosung expressed his hatred for Yangbom, emphasizing that Yangbom destroyed his life despite appearing as a model student to others. Later, Yoosung returned to a room with other prisoners who were kneeling in front of him. One of them reported that Sang-yeol had skipped lunch, and Yoosung choked him for neglecting meals, mentioning that it was all paid for with tax money. When Sang-yeol apologized, Yoosung reminded him not to speak because only humans were allowed to talk. Sang-yeol suffered from various health issues, including speech disorders, ataxia, impaired concentration, decreased consciousness, shoulder subluxation, and even PTSD due to repeated trauma. His brain had suffered damage due to a lack of oxygen, leading to a decline in his intelligence. Yoosung finished his 899th strangulation and pondered that it was 6 days before his release, and he would spend this time completing 1,000 strangles. He instructed the guys to verify the count and get tissues because Sang-yeol had soiled himself. 6 days later, Yoosung was released from detention. Miss Joanna, his pretend sister, welcomed him outside the school in a luxurious car. She asked if he was ready to go, and as they traveled destination, a makeup artist enhanced Yoosung's appearance. They reached the school, and the makeup artist placed a wig on Yoosung's head to conceal his burn scar. Yoosung felt ready to return to Gangnam High School. Yoosung felt ready to enter the school and acknowledged that his makeup was decent. The makeup artist remarked to Joanna that Yoosung lacked manners, and Joanna agreed but brushed it off, explaining that young people his age often reacted that way. In the meantime, Yangbom was preoccupied with thoughts of his teacher's upcoming wedding, driving him to the brink of madness. However, he was interrupted when he overheard students discussing a transfer student in class 3 who was described as handsome. They decided to go and see this new student. Simultaneously, the teacher in class 3 introduced Yoosung to the class and instructed him to take an empty seat. She also informed the class about an upcoming mock test and warned them to take it seriously. As Yoosung made his way to his seat, a student stopped him to complain that his introduction had been annoying. Unfortunately, the teacher had left the class at that moment. Bullies pressured the student to repeat the complaint more loudly. Yu-sung retaliated by kicking the bully and fending off the attacker's friends. He managed to gain the upper hand in the altercation, shocking the class. Yu-sung then dusted off his clothes and with a hint of sarcasm offered to reintroduce himself. He shared his name and age and mentioned his interests and dislikes, noting that what he hated was not currently present. News of the transfer student beating Park Sung-go and his gang on his first day quickly spread throughout the school. As Yangbom and a female classmate walked down the school hallway, she inquired about the incident involving the new transfer student. Yangbom expressed disinterest, explaining that he considered new transfers as just another thug from somewhere else. She admired his maturity for not caring about such matters, and Yangbom elaborated that he disliked a noisy school and didn't care about fights. Meanwhile, Yu-sung was accosted by some students in the bathroom who questioned his involvement in the earlier fight. 2 others stood guard at the bathroom door to prevent anyone from entering. However, a student accidentally fell against the door, shattering the glass. Inside the bathroom, Yu-sung single-handedly fought off the students, noting their expensive clothing and expressing his envy. While continuing to overpower them, a third-year gang leader named Kim Sang-wook appeared and confronted Yu-sung, inquiring about his identity and taunting him. Outside the bathroom, Yangbom and the girl arrived, and she was shocked to see Sang-wook being pummeled by the new student. She urged Yangbom to do something and suggested he go call the teachers, but Yangbom appeared conflicted. He left the girl with the notes he was carrying, and when asked if he was leaving because of the fight, told her to be quiet for a moment because he needed to think. He then walked away, promising to see her later. After school, while Yu-sung was heading home, Sang-wook approached him and asked him to follow him. Sang-wook offered to do whatever Yu-sung wanted. They found Yangbom, who inquired if Yu-sung was the transfer student who had knocked out some students upon arrival. Yu-sung remained silent when asked about his academic skills, and Yangbom deduced that Yu-sung was the quiet type. Yangbom introduced himself as a sponsor for students who excelled in fighting and directly inquired about Yu-sung's financial needs. Yangbom explained that his family owned Build Family and asked if Yu-sung was familiar with a hospital in the area. Yu-sung recalled a moment when Yangbom had sarcastically asked him about his family's living situation after their house had burned down, and Yu-sung hadn't forgotten that encounter. He had come to seek revenge against Yangbom. Yu-sung revealed his identity, and Yangbom recognized him from their past interactions. Yangbom recalled the time he had inquired whether Yu-sung had an older sister and reached out to check Yu-sung's burn scar. However, when he saw no scar, he began to doubt if this was the same Yu-sung. Yu-sung clarified that he shared the same name as Lee Yoon-sung, who had been targeted during the live broadcast in the past. During that live stream, Park Sang-yeol had claimed he would reveal the extent of the loser Yoon-sung's brutal actions. He had gone as far as apologizing to all the Lee Yoon-sungs in Korea, placing blame on their mothers for naming them similarly and even making an offensive gesture to the viewers. Yu-sung wanted to meet Yangbom at least once because Yangbom had been part of the group that had bullied him during the livestream. He mentioned his irritation about the incident and asked Yangbom if he understood how much he'd been bothered by it. Yangbom seemed taken aback and asked if Yu-sung was furious over just that. Yu-sung explained that it was the principal reason, but suggested that if Yangbom could offer sufficient compensation, it might help alleviate his irritation. He had heard that Yangbom was wealthy and wanted to see how sincere Yangbom's offer was. He hoped that Yangbom wouldn't speak thoughtlessly about sponsorship matters. However, Yangbom found it ridiculous that Yu-sung would expect an equal relationship with him and expressed his unwillingness to work under someone. He declared his liking for Yoon-sung and instructed everyone to go down to the building they were on top of. While descending, Yangbom shared that the building belonged to his father, but that he managed and owned it. He mentioned the study cafes on the 2nd and 4th floors. The 5th floors function as a single-roomer. Runaway boys were sometimes provided shelter, and the 1st floor's cafe and underground sauna. He took Yu-sung to the sauna, where they encountered a large guy named Kyungmin. Yu-sung recognized Kyungmin from a previous encounter with his sister. Yangbom informed Kyungmin about Yoon-sung and clarified that he was different from the Yoon-sung they knew. He mentioned that Yu-sung was skilled in fighting and had the audacity to confront them. Kyungmin, however, didn't take kindly to Yoon-sung's attitude and threatened to harm him. Yangbom intervened, demanding that they both calm down and question loyalty and respect. He assigned Yu-sung a task, considering it a test since he didn't trust him entirely. Yu-sung was tasked with bringing some girls to a designated location and leaving them there. He successfully completed the task by escorting the girls to the shelter and the hotel on the 5th floor, where they were offered protection. Yangbom praised Yu-sung for his good work and then instructed him to follow Kyungmin, who would brief him on his next task. As Yoosung trailed Kyungmin, he recalled a conversation with Joanna in which she emphasized the need to infiltrate Yangbom's group and gain his trust. She explained that they couldn't simply capture Yangbom for a minor act of violence, as he always had an escape plan ready. Joanna believed that they had to handle Yangbom carefully and discreetly. Kyungmin led Yoosung into a room where other individuals were working on fake driver's licenses. He explained that they helped new arrivals at the shelter by creating fake IDs in their names. The goal was to rent a car and sell it to an illegal car dealer, making the minors indebted to them by 50 million won. Those who had taken out loans or had parents with insurance as collateral would owe them 100 million won. Kyungmin also revealed that Yangbom controlled everything in the area, making him untouchable. Yoosung understood that anyone who had visited the shelter owed Yangbom, and this realization fueled his determination to send them all to hell personally. Yoosung decided to start his revenge with Choi Kyungmin, determined to end the torment of Kyungmin's disgusting laughter. Kyungmin handed Yoosung a consent form for the protection shelter and instructed him to get the girls' fingerprints on the document, indicating that he was now in charge of them. Yoosung observed that at a quick glance, the contract appeared to be a standard protection agreement. However, it was deviously mixed with fraudulent loan clauses, a combination that, if not carefully examined, would lead unsuspecting signers down a path to hellish debt. Kyungmin claimed that pretty young girls would repay the debt quickly, so there was nothing to worry about. As Yoosung took the contract to the girls' room, he tossed it in their direction, instructing them to stamp their fingers on it if they wanted to stay in the shelter. One of the girls was offended by this approach and mentioned that they had been cautioned against signing contracts recklessly. The girls expressed their unwillingness to sign such a document and warned that they would call the police and leave if they were pressured. Realizing the difficulty of his task, Yoosung decided to give in to their demands and pretended to head for the door. The girls believed he was leaving out of fear when they mentioned involving the police. Suddenly, Yoosung locked the door, trapping the girls inside. They began to yell at him to open the door, and their voices alerted Kyungmin, who rushed to the room. After unlocking the door, he asked Yoosung what he was trying to achieve. Yoosung claimed that he had managed to get one of the girls' fingerprints on the contract, but that the other had resisted. Kyungmin couldn't fathom what had just happened and considered Yoosung a complete lunatic, concluding that he had purposely placed the girls in a room with CCTV to test Yoosung. Yangbom arrived, expressing his apologies to Yoosung, explaining that in his line of work, trust was paramount and verification was necessary. He commended Yoosung and expressed his approval of their future working relationship. Yangbom assured Yoosung that the girls were the ones he had initially brought in. Yoosung recognized that he had to act the part of a troublemaker to draw Yangbom out of his secretive shell. Yangbom thought Yoosung was looking for excitement and announced that they would begin working the next day. Kyungmin turned off the room's lights, informing Yoosung that he would be given proper instruction and that their initial task would be to install hidden cameras in the female members' rooms. As Kyungmin explained how to use the red cellophane to spot the cameras, Yoosung knew he was fully inside Jo Yangbom's world, where the crime would soon commence. With his preparations complete, Yoosung had to focus on his next plan. Kyungmin admitted that Yangbom was intelligent and had constructed an ant nest to eliminate people like them. He recalled the internet crimes from the past and discussed how Yangbom had tormented the true outcast who shared Yoosung's name. He revealed that the live broadcast with the real outcast was entirely Yangbom's idea. Kyungmin detailed how Yangbom preferred to manipulate people from behind the scenes and skillfully turn them. He began recounting the time they had brought Outcast's older sister to Yangbom, mentioning her family's misfortune with their burnt-down house. When he was about to discuss the sister's appearance, Yoosung interrupted, claiming the camera wasn't working. Kyungmin was initially irritated but realized Yoosung was holding an extension cord. In his frustration, Yoosung grabbed Kyungmin's arm and broke it, then twisted the cord around Kyungmin's hand to shatter his fingers. As Kyungmin cried out in pain and confusion, Yoosung revealed the shocking truth to him. He whispered in Kyungmin's ear that Lee Na-yeon was his elder sister and that he was the same outcast as his little brother. Yoosung told Kyungmin to laugh like he had earlier, but Kyungmin was left stunned by the revelation. Yoosung recollected his childhood and the pivotal role his sister Naeun played in his life. They were 3 years apart in age, and Naeun had always been a source of support, especially since Yoosung was smaller and shorter than kids his age. Despite the age gap, Naeun had been his rock during the tough times leading up to the house fire incident. After the arson case, their house had turned into a semi-basement room in a linked house of a public institution. While the environment was less than ideal, the fortunate thing was that the agreement with the victims was progressing well. Naeun was on the cusp of puberty and living in a dormitory. One day, Yoosung and his mother were doing house chores when his mother asked if something had happened. Yu-sung was confused and his mother probed further, asking if he had been pressured by school friends to engage in activities like burning down their house and doing drugs. Yu-sung was tormented, wondering if his mother would believe him if he confessed to the truth. He was about to speak when the door swung open and Naan entered, inquiring about the state of their home. She grabbed Yoon-sung's face in frustration but was stunned to see the burn mark on his face. She asked what had happened and noticed that their mother appeared frail. The truth gradually emerged as they recounted everything to Naan, who was shocked by their revelations. Even their grandmother was affected by mental trauma. Yu-sung couldn't bring himself to say anything and sat there silently, wishing he had spoken the truth. At school, after class, Yu-sung was assigned the duty of collecting printouts from the teacher's office. He needed to request permission from a chat room that included all the students in his class for practically everything he did. Frodo with glasses permitted him to go to the teacher's office, but Yu-sung had a strong suspicion about who the mastermind behind this system was, even though he lacked concrete evidence. He had to seek permission even to use the restroom, and when he didn't receive it one time, he ended up wetting himself, leading to laughter and mockery from his entire class. Yu-sung felt like he was on the verge of losing his sanity. He recalled a day when he was carrying heavy bags and getting bullied. Naan saw the bullies kicking Yu-sung on the ground, and in a flash, she struck one of the bullies across the face, leaving the others in shock. That day, everything happened quickly, and although many students had bullied Yu-sung, Naan happened to witness that particular incident and reacted with fiery anger. Yu-sung felt relief seeing his sister Naan intervene. Notably, he also noticed Yangbam standing nearby, observing Naan as she confronted the bullies. This incident seemed to pique Yangbam's interest. Afterward, Yangbam approached Yu-sung, saying that he would prohibit everything. Naan eventually noticed Yu-sung's phone and saw all the messages about him. She questioned him in anger, but Yu-sung tried to downplay the situation by claiming they were just jokes among friends. Naan, however, hugged him tightly, saying that it must be painful for him to endure it all alone, and reassured him that he had his sister with him. This emotional moment moved Yu-sung to tears, and Naan comforted him, telling him that everything would be okay and that he could rely on her. Lee Na-hyun observed a stout figure nearby and wondered if he was the one who had instigated bullying against her younger brother. He responds with a sigh and says that he dropped out of school and that it's his first time meeting Yoon-sung, claiming that she doesn't know anything. He mentioned running an errand for others who had asked him to accompany her somewhere. Meanwhile, Jo Young-beom was in his father's Mercedes, spraying cologne and checking himself in the mirror. He had breath fresheners handy to avoid any embarrassment about bad breath. Nervous yet hopeful, he worried about potential trouble if he continued in the car. Jo Young-beom is excited too, and being attracted to an older woman, that too one of his classmates' sisters, nevertheless, for a boy going through puberty. Lee Na-hyun opened the car door and found herself facing a boy who is trembling with excitement. He calls her and surprises for her presence. He demanded to know how he knew her name. He responded nervously, saying it wasn't strange for him to know the name of a classmate's sister, claiming he was close friends with Lee Yoon-sung. As he continues to say that he was about to ask something to him, she cuts him off, saying not to bullshit her, and grabs him by the collar and asks whether he is the pro guy wearing glasses. She throws him out of the car and questions whether his parents knew what he was doing, going around and bullying all the kids. She continues to ask him about his car since he is still in his middle school. The fantasies of him being around an older woman has turned to dust. He debated whether he has to apologize or to run away and starts calling her Nuna, quickly corrects himself and calls her Ms. Lee. He argued that she appears to be unaware of how the children behave nowadays and that such things are of nothing. He thinks he has to stand his ground, and he asks her about juvenile offenders. He claims that nothing will happen to them no matter what they do, and that if they come at him like this, it will be his little brother that will be in trouble if they pushed him. He thinks that he is right and that he is still a minor. Lee Na-hyun couldn't take it anymore. She quickly gives a tight slap on his face and screamed that he must be out of his mind, vowing to help him find it. She continues to hit him, repeating his words that nothing will happen to them, and says that it is really his lucky day since he can finally find out if his little theory is correct or not. Jo Young-beom's plan was simple, until his sister has beaten the life out of him. She puts him in his car and advises him from the outside to get himself to home, and that she called in a driver to come pick him up. With fear, he agrees to her. She threatens him that she will rip him to shreds if he lays his hand on her little brother ever again, and that she will be watching over him. Jo Young-beom is sitting in his car, facing utter humiliation, along with that humiliation that came from being beaten up by a woman, made him horrified. The chunky person is walking towards the car and sees Lee Na-hyun returning back and thinks that he finished. Jo Young-beom shouts from the car, calling Choi Jae-young-min, the chunky person, to catch her, and he immediately presses the accelerator of his car. He tries to run over her with his car, in frustration, and hits a tree. After both of them escape, Choi Jae-young-min shouts at him, saying that he almost killed him along with her. She was shocked to see him trying to kill her and falls on the ground. Jo Young-beom says that she won't be able to dodge the next one and turns the car towards her. He threatens he will break her legs and make her a cripple, running the car towards her and breaking her legs. After this incident, Yoon Sung's sister lost both of her legs and she gave up track and field. She has started swimming, but not long after she was killed in an accident. In the current scene, Yoon Sung stood behind Choi Jae-young-min, recounting the entire incident while restraining him. Fear etched across his face. He asked if Choi Jae-young-min had returned for revenge against him and Jo Young-beom. He responds saying not to joke and asks if such a thing can work on a person like him. Swiftly, Yoon Sung tied an elastic string to his hand and pulled it in the opposite direction, causing Choi Jae-young-min's hand to break. Yoon Sung claims that there won't be any change since there is a limit to physical things. He thinks of something else and says if he came here to break everything that is related to the two of them. Suddenly, a message pops up on Jo Young-beom's phone. He checks it, only to see a message which says that his account has been suspended and to visit the nearby branch for more information. He thinks of it as a phishing attack and tries to ignore it. Then again, loads of messages arrive, claiming that his accounts have been suspended. He then realizes that all of his accounts have been suspended at once. When Choi Jae-young-min asks what is he going to do, he replies that it might have started by now, and he asks him to listen his first step of his exquisite plan. While sitting on his back with his body on the floor, he pulls the elastic band tightly and says that his deceased body will be found there. When he shouts at him, he says not to get him wrong since he won't be the person to kill him, and that will be Jo Young-beom himself is going to do the deed, while he is enraged to his maximum. Jo Young-beom's angry expression contorted as he bit his lip, bleeding himself. The noise drew his parents to his room, their faces etched with concern as they asked what was wrong. They look at him and find all the items in his room thrown away everywhere. He apologizes to them and says that his grades went down and they were not as he expected, making him feel a bit frustrated. They advise him not to isolate himself to study and get some fresh air and relax for a while. Despite their reassurances, they worried about his well-being as he closed the door on them. His father says that he'll be fine, and that is okay for them to be frustrated from time to time. Choi Jae-young, trembling with pain and unease, questioned why Jo Young-beom would want to kill him. Yoon Sung says that he is sure about Jo Young-beom reaching out to him and questions if he remembers about the bank book he gave him earlier. Yoon Sung revealed he had played a trick with it, asking if all Choi Jae-young's bank accounts were linked to that book. Earlier, Jo Young-beom had given Choi Jae-young a book under a homeless person's identity, claiming it would be used for his monthly salary and bonuses starting the next day. Yoon Sung noticed deleted transaction histories, recovered them, and thereby uncovered all linked accounts that had been used. He accused Choi Jae-young of stealing a significant amount of Jo Young-beom's money. Yoon Sung disclosed that he had reported those accounts and got them suspended. Hearing this, he cries and struggles with pain. He further says that he had made the report on Choi Jae-young's name since the accounts were made in the name of homeless people. He assures Choi Jae-young not to worry, since unless he reports to the police about the account suspension, he will never know the real reason for the sudden suspension. He then asks who exactly will Jo Young-beom suspect. Yoon Sung, giving Choi Jae-young a chance and asks him to choose wisely. If Choi Jae-young weighed his options, if he reveals about Yoon Sung, then all the money he embezzled will be found out. If something goes wrong, then Choi Jae-young has to bear full responsibility for what he has reported. Yoon Sung asks him if he thinks Jo Young-beom would leave him. After a while, a person stood on top of Choi Jae-young and questioning if he suspended those accounts without knowing anything. Choi Jae-young denied involvement, but Chong Su delivered a powerful slap that sent him flying away. That person is Chong Su, who is the fourth generation of Goryeo and with the title of the Knife of Jo Young-beom. He claims that he sensed betrayal from the start, and that he had no right to do anything besides being with Jo Young-beom. Jo Young-beom walks from the behind and says that he has to be the main suspect if there was a traitor among them inside this business. Jo Young-beom further claims only his accounts were suspended and it happened at once. Jo Young-beom says he didn't want to suspect him, but all the situations are a perfect match, advising him to speak out the truth. Choi Jae-young thinks that Yoon Sung wants him to pretend he doesn't know anything, and cutting him to keep his promises. Lee Yoon Sung thinks about the events earlier when he is speaking with Choi Jae-young about a solution, and threatening him that he has no choice but to listen to him when he was about to snap out because of his response. Lee Yoon Sung entered the room saying that he will take care of the rest and walks by Jo Young-beom towards Choi Jae-young with an angry face. He begins to hit him so harshly that shocked everyone in the room. When the giant moved to interfere, Jo Young-beom signals him to wait and tells him that he is the new recruit, who is doing something interesting. With the same face, he questions Jo Young-beom for trying him to drag him into his mess. Jo Young-beom was puzzled by his question and questions his intention in barging in right into the room. Yoon Sung pulls up a sachet from Choi Jae-young's pocket and says that he is responsible for the whole operation. He continues to accuse that such a person is responsible for the money is an addict. He claims that everything is because of Choi Jae-young and continues to hit him. Choi Jae-young thinks in his mind that Lee Yong-sung's solution was to turn him into an addict, and concluding that he is really insane. Jo Young-beom asks him to pause and wanted to clarify that the accounts were being suspended because of his use of drugs, and begins to understand the situation. He questions Lee Yoon-sung on his intention to be upset about him. He cuts him to clarify him that he has a reason, that he was about to lose all his earned money since he had used that account which he has declared it to be safe. He demanded him in what way will he take responsibility for his money, and says that he's as sensitive if it's about money and to think carefully before answering. Jo Young-beom snaps out of his pause and agrees that there is nothing more important than money, assuring him that he will compensate for everything. He claims to have an offer for him, which is nothing hard but to take Choi Jae-young's position since he has the knowledge to deal with funds and since the position is empty for now. Choi Jae-young, who is bleeding on the ground, thinks in his mind that it was Yoon Sung's actual goal, to trample and take his place while using loopholes of the fake back account, and acknowledges it as a perfect plan. He thinks the reason this genius used him as a bait was to take advantage of Jo Young-beom's doubtful nature. He further thinks about the time it took to plan it and that he has nothing to do at this rate. Chong Su cuts Jo Young-beom and asks him to stop. He walks up to Lee Yoon Sung saying that the eyes are the window to a person's heart and that his eyes are full of trickery and anger. The only thing Choi Jae-young didn't take into account for the perfect plan of Lee Yoon Sung is the 2-meter figure of Chong Su, which is an impenetrable, invincible wall. He claims that his eyes are lying and he can't leave him alone and wants to pluck his eyeballs out. Lee Yoon Sung covers his face with hoodie and questions if he knew him. He argues that just because he is bigger than him doesn't mean he'll be scared of him. Lee Yoon Sung already predicted that he cannot avoid the fight, recalling the teachings of a person on how to fight if he is confronted by a giant. Lee Yoon Sung says he is trying to use what he has learned and takes his stance, when Chong Su questions his actions. Lee Yoon Sung informs his trainer that he plans to wear a mask while he fights. He explained that an adhesive would be used to keep the mask on his face, and that it might fall off in the middle of the fight, deducing that fighting the opponent in close quarters would be risky, and since the opponent here is large, fighting him at a distance would be a disadvantage. Then his trainer advises him to keep his hood up while fighting, and keep it as tight as possible. As the fight commenced, Lee Yoon Sung runs towards his opponent immediately and tries to push him down, but he doesn't even move an inch. He questioned if Lee Yoon Sung thought he couldn't be hit while clinging to him, and catches his hoodie and in an attempt to throw him away, which resulted in pulling off his hoodie. He then remembers the words of his trainer, who had revealed the reason to keep his hoodie right is not for his mask but to make removing his clothes simpler. Further, he tells him to first close the distance and make it so that they can't use their fists. Also to target the blind spot that reveals when he takes off the hoodie when he tries to grab him, and end it in one blow. Lee Yoon Sung seized his opponent, kicked his legs out from under him, and landed blows to his face and cursing him for seeing him as an amateur. Before he could strike a second one, Jo Young-beom interrupts him and says that should be enough for him. When Chong Su was ready to retaliate, Jo Young-beom commands both of them to stop. Listening to his words, Lee Yoon-sung leaves him, saying that he will stop if Jo Young-beom says, clarifying that at least he can listen to what the head says, which is what makes a team to run smoothly. Jo Young-beom acknowledges his decency and likes him the more he observes him. He finally says that he can take care of the businesses that Choi took care of. Chong Su continues to point that he has a snake-like eye, to which Jo Young-beom replies that he should listen when the head is taking. He orders Lee Yoon-sung to clean up the mess. Lee Yoon-sung felt relieved, for he didn't expect him to be fine after that knee kick, and that he needs to be thorough on the future. In the school, the teacher addresses the students that they have to complete the homework and reminded them about the text next week. She then asks Young-beom to follow her. She recognizes his efforts and praises him for his marks in the mock exam. Observing his gradual improvement, she asks him if she can look forward to getting 100 in CSAT, to which he laughs it off, saying that he is not at that level yet. Jo Young-beom is a model student at school, who actually acts like a model student, keeping his personal and professional lives completely separate, hence living a perfect double life. He maintains a respectable appearance at school and in front of his family, though being a gangster outside. Lee Yoon-sung thinks it's thanks to him that he is handling his dirty work. While ordering the other persons to pay attention while working, he introduces himself to the members as the new head on place of Choi, saying that it is not that impressive success, he is not much. At school, Jo Young-beom is seen receiving his test scores from his teacher at school, which secured him a 10th place in the whole school. He claims it was all the hard work of the teacher, giving all the credit to her teachings. When he was about to be seated, a teacher opens the class door and asks for Jo Young-beom. Coming to an isolated place, Teacher Kim questions Jo Young-beom why did he do it. Jo Young-beom asked the teacher about the problem. He confronts that he had advised not to get caught, for the fact that the tests were given to him. The teacher shows Jo Young-beom a post in his phone screen which claims that the test results were leaked to some students. Jo Young-beom asks if he had given it to other students, to which he replies saying that he has not given them to anyone except for him, while cursing him. The teacher says that he won't be going down alone if he got into trouble. Jo Young-beom interrupts the teacher, insisting with a serious expression that he was not responsible for the leaked test results. He cautioned the teacher take care at his words and that he is the one who was caught, and further claims that he had put in a lot of money for him every month. Earlier, Lee Yoon-sung suspected that a teacher might be involved, since it's mainly based on students, which is how they were able to collect much of the data. He discussed the matter with a woman over the phone, who inquired about the placement and the contents of the post. Lee Yoon-sung decided to let public opinion determine the outcome. Jo Young-beom instructed the teacher Kim to delete the post before too many people saw it. Their homeroom teacher oversees their conversation along with Lee Yoon-sung, who declares that it was the real behavior of Jo Young-beom, stunned by his implications, and clarifies that if it's true, and confused here even more since the head teacher is involved in this. He continues to say something to her, while he recalls his previous interaction with the woman, when she asked what he meant by public opinions. He then clarifies that he won't be sending it to the media, which won't be any fun to him. He thinks of using the most dangerous method available in Korea and asks his teacher the reason for her surprise, since he wanted to fill some more interesting information. He claims that Jo Young-beom had installed a camera at her desk. In the past, Jo Young-beom had gifted his teacher a diffuser, which she appreciated for keeping the room smelling fresh. He instructed her to inform him when it needed refilling. Sitting in front of it now, she recalls their conversation from that day. However, she recently discovered that the diffuser contained a hidden camera, installed for surveillance purposes to monitor her every move. When she thinks of reporting it to the police, Lee Yoon-sung advises against it, warning of potential harm for her, since he specializes in portraying the victim to be a perpetrator. He assures her to leave it to him for now. In his office, Lee Yoon-sung informs Lee Yoon-sung and Chong Su that he was targeted via a post on the school bulletin board. He speculates it was either the teacher himself or a high-achieving student, seeking their opinions. Chong Su suggests taking aggressive action against everyone, even if he is a teacher or a kid good at studying, confident that his first will know about the culprit. When Jo Young-beom is looking at him frustrated, Lee Yoon-sung interrupts him and criticizes if he always works in such idiotic way. Lee Yoon-sung questions on his intention on this matter was to capture the perpetrator or make a bug issue. Jo Young-beom intervenes when Chong Su gets agitated and tries to punch Lee Yoon-sung. Lee Yoon-sung advises him to trace the IP of the person that posted it. Since he thought that Chong Su wouldn't do anything useful, he did the work for him right away and gave him a paper containing the details of the post and his address, which was located from his IP. Lee Yoon-sung informs that a high schooler is living at that address, pointing out to the right-hand man to dispatch quickly and deal with him. Jo Young-beom, with a very furious face, orders him to capture and bring him. He thanks Yoon-sung since he feels relieved. Lee Yoon-sung smiles and tells him to ask for his help in the future, but it might cost him more money. The next day in the school, Jo Young-beom arrives at the request of the teacher. She asks his help, to which he agrees and asks her request. When she begins to explain about the principal's assignment, he noticed that the diffuser is gone and questions her if she threw it away. She replies that she lent it to the principal, who took it away to use for the environmental sanitation, and apologies for lending since he gave it for her only. Jo Young-beom became very furious since he is really careful about his sex-related business. She remembers his conversation with Lee Yoon-sung about the dangers of sexual crimes in this country. So, he tells her that Jo Young-beom manages it under strict leadership and control, always making an escape plans if there was a problem. And about her case, he clarifies that he might have made an escape route. When the teacher is thinking on a way to tackle him, he asks her to leave this to him since he is going to block his escape path by transforming it into a hidden camera. After his talk with the teacher, Jo Young-beom arrives at the ladies' staff washroom and thinks that he will be labeled as a bathroom hidden camera criminal if anyone finds the camera installed in the diffuser. He wants to prevent it from happening and curses the principal for keeping it in the bathroom. The teachers see him standing near the bathroom and tells him to go to his class, and they continue to walk away. He turned himself backwards since he flustered and thinks of a way to enter the place. While they were leaving, they talk about the diffuser which is installed in the bathroom. Thinking about his future, he plans to remove it at all costs and enters the bathroom pretending to be crazy. In his previous conversations with that woman, she asks Lee Yoon-sung if his plans were to expose him as a bathroom hidden camera criminal. She says that they can track anyone who had installed the camera using digital forensics and focuses on the fact that becoming a hidden camera criminal of like a death sentence in Korea. She concludes her plan of action to expose him to the public by turning him into a woman bathroom hidden camera criminal, to which he disagrees. After much contemplation, he enters the bathroom. To his surprise, Jo Young-beom discovers that the diffuser that is being used in that lady staff's bathroom isn't his device. In another bathroom, which is for the male staff, the ethics teacher Min Dong-wook looks at the diffuser and wonders who had installed it, and picks it up to examine it. He observes a light blinking on the diffuser, realizing that it is a hidden camera which is confirmed by another teacher. Listening to their conversation, Jo Young-beom is in a panic mode. In his conversation previously, when the woman questioned Lee Yoon-sung about his plan, he says that he never clarified that it will be in a woman's restroom. He plans to make him become the worst kind of pervert and asks her to go public with this discussion that a male student from a prestigious high school installed a hidden camera inside the male staff bathroom. Chong Su arrived at the northern Gyeonggi province's last-ranked school, which is Yongsa High School. He talks to a bunch of students who were sitting in the computer lab about a malicious post that was sent by them about someone named Jo Young-beom from Siha High School in Gangnam. Chong Su replies that it is what the information in the paper says, that the IP address is from that computer lab. Some students go up to him and ask him about some money and making fun of his accent. He kept on ignoring him for some time, which made him realize and get irritated that he got deceived from Lee Yoon-sung and everyone on that computer lab out of frustration. He quickly tries to get to the location of Lee Yoon-sung. Jo Young-beom reacts to the teacher's conversation and thinks that there is no evidence and that he'll just say that he didn't know anything. Teacher Kim says that he knew the method to catch the person who installed it. He explains that they can perform digital forensics on a camera, and if it didn't work, they can search the camera model and find out the date of purchase and its location. He says that he learnt it during the sexual crimes awareness lesson last time. That day, Jo Young-beom felt the scary feeling with his sexual education is in Korea, and the horrifying fear of him being a sexual offender in Korea. Sitting on his bed, Jo Young-beom thinks that he was able to get away with it previously with the help of the head teacher, and wonders about his next step since it's a matter of time that he gets caught. Suddenly, his phone rings when he was busy thinking. It was Lee Yoon-sung, who wanted to report that day's schedule. Lee briefed about his work done in acquiring 10 new cards and the pending task, which is to make a deal with the used cars dealer. He replies that they can have a conversation with him tomorrow, since he is feeling low. Lee Yoon-sung questions him if it was due to the commotion at school earlier. He says he wants to lend him a shoulder to talk about it, and help as much as he can since he is his head. Jo Young-beom listening to this opens up and asks him to meet at that moment. Later, Lee Yoon-sung arrives at the school thinking something must have happened at school. Before coming to school, they meet up at an alley, where Jo Young-beom tells him about a small misunderstanding and to retrieve the diffuser from the ethics teacher drawer, describing its features. Lee Yoon-sung retrieves it, thinking that the time has come, and Jo Young-beom thanks him. Lee Yoon-sung declares that he has nothing to do with it, now that it is in his hands, and leaves the spot. Jo Young-beom thinks that he is much more useful and he might be needed a lot of times than he needed Chong Su. He observes a tracker underneath the item. Meanwhile, the ethics teacher is on a phone call and says that he is near the location of the tracker while driving a car. Jo Young-beom looks puzzled, not knowing what to do. The car passes Lee Yoon-sung, and he recalls his talk with the teacher where he advises her to put a smart tag to locate the device, and asks her to leave it in the bathroom. After it was done, she observes Jo Young-beom going in the ladies' staff bathroom. At that moment, the ethics teacher arrived beside her. She immediately requests him to check the diffuser in the bathroom, which led him to discover the hidden camera. He quickly calls her and says that the location of the smart tag is moving and he is following it, just as she predicted. Teacher Ho claims that might be person who had installed the camera in the school bathroom. Meanwhile, Jo Young-beom breaks the diffuser in the alley and searched for the memory card. When he found the memory card in the rubble, the ethics teacher arrives at the scene and spots him, prompting him to run away. While escaping the spot, Jo Young-beom thinks about how did he end up in this situation, while the ethics teacher shouts at him to stop and calling him a sex offender. After running for a while, he sits at the rear of a car, gasping for his breath, but the ethics teacher followed him until the end. Jo Young-beom thinks that it is due to one thing, and breaks the memory card. He thinks of the fact that the most important part is deleted. All that is left is to clear the remains of the diffuser. The teacher shorts, claiming that he knew the perpetrator is around here and gives him a chance as an ethics teacher to reveal himself before him counting to 3, to reduce his term of punishment. After he counts to 3 and hearing no response, the teacher understands that he wants to choose the harder way and starts shouting Siri and Bixby, which are the voice assistants of the two big phone companies, thinking that it will make sound in response. Realizing this, Jo Young-beom tries to grab his phone, but the phone responds to it, making sound and revealing his position, and is caught by the ethics teacher. That day, Jo Young-beom could feel how scary a sexual crime is in Korea, and the fear behind being a sexual offender along with the terror that approaches him. The ethics teacher claims this is nothing since he has been dealing with students like him for over a decade. When the ethics teacher asks Jo Young-beom to come with him since he is done for, he starts to run away from him and curses many times, and the ethics teacher keeps on chasing him. Jo Young-beom thinks there are days where nothing is going well, and whatever he tries to do just makes the situation worse. Meanwhile, in an alley where Lee Yoon-sung is confronted by Chong Su. He threatens Yoon-sung that he is going to end him today since he knows Yoon-sung is hiding something. Yoon-sung says he figured it out faster than he expected since he thought of him as an idiot. With the bloodied fist, Chong Su throws a punch at Yoon-sung, which he evades and quickly gives a low kick. Chong Su evades it by jumping and says they will not allow him to attack the same place again. But Yoon-sung quickly changes his stance, grabs him and pins him on the ground. After he recovers from the attack, Chong Su says he makes sure to end him that day and gets agitated, but tries to calm himself and maintain focus. Chong Su says people from his area learn to control their rage and start to attack Yoon-sung, while explaining that the way to win is to calm himself. Yoon-sung evades 2 attacks from Chong Su and rebounds backwards. Yoon-sung asks Chong Su how has become the right-hand man of Young-beom and doing all his dirty work. Chong Su recalls his past, where his mother has been hospitalized due to some illness and they are worried about the hospital expenses. Chong Su then assures her mother not to worry since his friend Yang Biam is wealthy and is the grandson of the hospital owner, who offered his help. Chong Su says to Yoon Sung that he wouldn't understand his need for Yang Biam's help. Yoon Sung throws his shoe on his face and says that he doesn't really care about such sentimental stories. When he catches the shoe and is about to say something, Yoon Sung gives a low kick to Chong Su, making him fall on the ground. Yoon Sung says he has to be careful on a rainy day and starts to extend the sleeves of his clothes and wraps it around his neck, choking him. Yoon Sung recalls this technique is called Houdini choke, which is quite similar to GI choke. With the remaining consciousness, Chong Su tries to recover from the chokehold and stands up, but Yoon Sung tightens the grip. With his consciousness fading, Chong Su remembers a scene when he was little, a visual which was imprinted on his mind about the crocodile being the top on the predator's list in its species due to its greatest characteristic, which is they won't let go of their prey. He compares the same visual to the situation where Yoon Sung portrays the crocodile and the crying deer as himself. Yoon Sung is successful in making Chong Su unconscious. Yoon Sung calls Miss Joanna and asks her to get ready and come to his location. Meanwhile, in another location, the ethics teacher in a desperate move leaps forward and catches Yang Biam, who is trying to get away. When the teacher says that he wouldn't let go of him, Yang Biam starts to kick the teacher's face and curses him while saying the teacher should be teaching and not running around ruining the student's future. He continues to kick his face and ends up injuring the teacher very badly, and the blood he coughed up covered Yang Biam's foot. He gets frustrated and curses at the teacher at the top of his lungs and begins to walk away from the scene. Suddenly, a cop car runs towards Yang Biam in the parking lot and orders him to stop. Yang Biam starts to run away from the cops. He quickly tries to contact Chong Su, but he doesn't respond. Just when he is frustrated with Chong Su since he didn't answer his calls, Yoon Sung calls him from a distance and asks him what he was doing. Yang Biam asks what he was doing in this place. Yoon Sung asks what he was talking about since they are in front of his building. Yoon Sung says he came to the building because he needed to take care of something. Yang Biam thinks he came all the way here without even realizing and falls on Yoon Sung. He asks him to take him to his office since he is the only person who he can trust now. While Yang Biam mumbles he will be paying back everyone who was bothering him, Yoon Sung with a cunning smile thinks that he finally came over and tells him not to worry since he will take him to hell. Putting his arm around Yang Biam, Yoon Sung asks him why not go somewhere outside rather than to his office and starts to choke him. He asks him to accompany for some time since he wants to discuss something and knocks him out cold in the rain. After some time, Yang Biam regains his consciousness and sees himself on the edge of the jump board. He looks around to see himself on the top of a swimming pool and loses balance on the edge and falls heads down into the pool. He screams to save him since he cannot swim. When he tries to step on the bottom of the pool, he observes blood in the water. Upon clear observation, he is bleeding from his feet due to the pins placed on the bottom of the pool. Yang Biam tries to splash himself towards the harness placed on the pool and sees Yoon Sung sitting on the side of the pool. Yang Biam screams at him for doing such a thing with him. Yoon Sung asks him if he remembers the tale of the Little Mermaid and starts to recite it from the old storybook where the princess wanted a pair of legs. Observing the signs of confusion on Yang Biam's face, he pulls out the plug of the pool which drains the water and says he will make him remember while remembering the tattoo on his chest, which is that of a mermaid among others. He starts to recite the story of his sister who won the a-meter swimming tournament and was the proud child of his family. She lost both of her legs in an accident, but she didn't give in. Rather, she started to swim and became famous in no time. Her face also played some part in the increased popularity among the community. In a court hearing regarding the accident of her sister, they were shocked to see the judge taking the side of the defendant since he is still underage and mistook the accelerator for the brake. In the trial, which is riddled with injustice, even the parents of Yang Biam were shocked since they thought Yang Biam was not like a regular quiet kid. Yoon Sung says they needed proof at that time and there were no CCTV in the area nor the black box of the vehicle was working at that time. They were at a disadvantage and lost the case. After some days, Yang Biam cleverly stirred the public opinion by modifying the recording of the whole conversation on the black box, which was claimed to be off, and publishing it. Because of this, his sister became the perpetrator and also a prey for the people. She felt like stepping on nails and the agony wouldn't go away even if she screamed. She didn't say a single word to the people who judged her by seeing a one-sided post. She ultimately fell from the rooftop and committed suicide since she was unable to bear the social stigma. Yoon Sung compares the characters of the tale of Little Mermaid with some special characteristics where the protagonist is a bright person with a pure heart, but they took away her voice, making her unable to speak the truth, resulting in her demise. It was one of the stories with a sad ending of a mature person who ended up being just an ordinary high schooler. He questions his views of the story and asks Yang Beum if he wants a hint to make him remember. Yoon Sung utters the words black box, Little Mermaid and swimming pool, but Yang Beum was unable to catch him and screams at him for sprouting such nonsense. Yoon Sung kicks Yang Beum, making him fall on the bottom of the pool, and says he should receive a punishment since he was unable to answer despite the hints. Yoon Sung claims he wanted Yang Beum to roll down a road of thorns, which was the reason for him working hard. Scores of small nails were stinging him on his rear side. The agitated Yang Beum gets up and curses Yoon Sung, continuously asking what was the problem with him and asks if he knew his background. Yoon Sung took off his face mask and introduced himself to Yang Beum while catching him crosswords, and was about to drop him on the ground, which was laid with nails. He questions if he remembers him and tells him about his middle school and about his sister Lee Na-hyun. Yang Beum realizes and claims if he is that pushover candidate from the past. He claims his actions were illegal since he strangled a person, threatened and kidnapped him. Yoon Sung drops Yang Beum on the ground, making him scream for the pain since he has got tacks on his cheek. Yoon Sung catches him by his collar and gives a tight slap to his cheek, making the tacks fly away from his skin, and says he need not worry since they have come to the place by using his car. He asks Yang Beum how could he have such guts to use the same car which he used to hit Yoon Sung's elder sister. When Yoon Sung asks if his sister and himself were nothing more than bugs to him, Yang Beum curses him and asks why is he doing all of this to him. Yang Beum claims that everything that has happened to him, from burning his house to his elder sister getting killed, was because of his retarded nature. Yoon Sung starts to slap him again and continues to hit him while feeling glad since Yang Beum hasn't changed at all and is nothing more than garbage now. Yoon Sung speaks out his elder sister's name and tells him not to forget that name since he was the one who took away her legs, her voice, and her life. Yoon Sung stops hurting him and gives him one last chance to apologize sincerely to him and his elder sister. With much difficulty, Yang Beum gives out a faint laugh and says why should he apologize to him and how can he apologize to his elder sister who is burning in hell, and calls him a retard. Yang Beum says he cannot let him live like this and calls Chong Su, who stands at the rear of Yoon Sung. Yang Beum, without wasting a sweat, asks why he didn't respond previously and asks him to end Yoon Sung. At that moment, Chong Su punches Yang Beum, making him crash onto the ground. Previously, when Yoon Sung defeated him, Miss Joanna came to their location, and then they briefed how Chong Su had been fooled by Yang Beum. Miss Joanna claims Chong Su's mother, who was in the hospital due to a sickness, can be treated right away, but for the sake of using him, Yang Beum has delayed the operation and neglected his mother. When Yoon Sung shows him the proof of what she was saying, Chong Su is confused and asks if it was femoral hernia. Yoon Sung claims her illness would be cured if she had a surgery right away, but now he cannot do anything since the chance of winning a lawsuit against Yang Beum is little less than 1%, and Yang Beum will be able to block all the media if he tries to spread the information to the public, and ultimately, both his mother and Chong Su would be having a hard time. The injured Yang Beum tries to talk back to Chong Su, but he cuts him and says that he got to know that Yang Beum deceived him by not helping him treat his mother right away. Chong Su decides to make Yang Beum suffer since his mother is also suffering because of him. Yang Beum tries to persuade him by saying that it doesn't change anything and they have to get evidence against him if they go by the law. Chong Su cuts him off, saying he doesn't care about the law since he cannot understand. Chong Su decides to do what he is best at since he will lose the case in court because Yang Beum has a lot of money and he doesn't have any. Chong Su decides to end Yang Beum's life there and asks him to stand up since that is the only way for revenge in Korea, according to him. In the past, Yang Beum tells Chong Su that her mother cannot be operated because of her illness because the aftereffects will be greater, and she is not young anymore to bear the results. Yang Beum says the doctors have told them it will be better if she is kept in the hospital, even though it is expensive. When Chong Su gets worried about the expenses, Yang Beum says not to worry about it since he is going to beg his grandfather about her mother and assured he will be helping Chong Su the best he can, and in return, he asked him to do some things for him. Chong Su got frustrated with Yang Biam since he trusted him to take care of his mother. During the conversation with Yoon Sung and Miss Joanna, Yoon Sung clarifies Chong Su has missed the timing of the operation and she needs to be hospitalized for the rest of her life with an incarcerated femoral hernia. Yoon Sung says Yang Biam has been aiming for that from the beginning since he can keep Chong Su with him as he knew about the weak point. Recalling everything, Chong Su starts to beat the shit out of Yang Biam. When Yang Biam tries to talk in the middle, Chong Su orders him to shut up since his aim today was to kill him. Yoon Sung stops Chong Su and says he won't be able to recover the money required for the hospital bills if he does anything else to Yang Biam. Chong Su says he has trusted Yang Biam not like a friend but like a master and claims even if he knew what a person is like, he won't be able to tell what exactly is going in his mind and leaves the place, vowing not to trust the people of Joseon again. Chong Su asks him to transfer the required money by the next week to transfer his mother to another hospital, and threatens he'd kill him if he failed to do so. Yang Biam wonders how Chong Su knew about that matter. Yoon Sung takes out and shows Yang Biam a particular hard disk drive where he used to store all the information on contact funds, sub-company, medical records, money, and the details of the companies used for money laundering. Yoon Sung reveals that he got to know about it from his close friend. He also reveals his reason for sneaking into the company, which was to retrieve such information. And hiding his real identity helped him to acquire this. Yang Biam sits on the ground and realizes that he has nothing left to do. He starts to cry and apologizes to Yoon Suk for sinning against him and says he will atone for his sins for the rest of his life by turning himself in. While he continues to cry, Yang Biam sees his car keys on the ground and sprints forward to grab it and runs away towards the car to escape. Yang Biam laughs at him and says why would he have to do things like turning himself in and ask for forgiveness. He unlocks the car and starts the engine. Yoon Sung immediately stands in front of the car and asks him to come out and apologize to his elder sister and claims there will be no turning back for him if he leaves here. Yang Biam shows him the middle finger and presses the gas pedal, which makes Yoon Sung fall to the side of the road. While going on a hillside road, Yang Biam keeps on hitting the steering while cursing Yoon Sung for making a scene for something that has happened a long time ago. He sees a barricade in the distance and tries to apply brakes, but they won't work since Yoon Sung has kept an award beneath the brake to block its function. Miss Joanna arrives at the scene and asks if he is all right and tells him that she got the whole perimeter under control and not to worry about the scene. She guessed that Yang Biam didn't apologize to him until the end. Yang Biam's car skids and it falls down from the edge of the cliff. Yoon Sung apologizes to his elder sister for finishing it late and tells her to rest in peace. At around the same time, in the middle of the footpath, a wheelchair was placed along with an umbrella and the passersby were wondering what it was for and ignoring it. One person looks at it and wonders if Lee Yoon Sung has started it. Yang Biam's parents were shocked to hear about the condition of Yang Biam and the crimes which he has been doing. She asserts that what they have heard is true and shows the proof she has collected on him, which were identity theft, assault on minors, illegal filming, sexual manipulation, driving without license, and violated medical law using his grandfather's hospital. Listening to all of this, her mother faints. Miss Joanna claims if they leave this matter to the police, his grandfather along with him will undoubtedly receive a huge blow and ask them to make a decision. She points out the case of the hidden camera in the bathroom ended with only his expulsion from the school. When Yang Biam's father asks if she is threatening him, she says he doesn't know the kind of household he is dealing with and takes out a picture of him and the judge which has given the verdict on the case which involved Yoon Sung's elder sister. She claims that they look pretty close to each other and also takes out a statement which has the settlement deposit to the judge as ransom. Yang Biam's father quickly asks her to stop and says that he understands the situation they were in. He asks her what she is expecting them to do. In the hospital, Yang Biam is on the hospital bed with his whole body covered in bandages. He regains consciousness and recalls the doctor's words about his condition. His spinal cord is severely damaged along with his left upper and lower central nerves. The doctor claims he is lucky to be alive after such a big accident and says his life will be harder to live from now onwards. He realizes he wouldn't be able to walk for the rest of his life. At that moment, his parents arrive to see him. Yang Biam tells them to get out of the room and throws the stand which is beside him, while screaming at them to get lost. Suddenly, two big figures appear behind his parents. They greet Yang Byum and ask him to come with them for a little while, and they drag him out of the hospital room while his parents are watching. Yang Byum tries to struggle and shouts for help from his parents. Yang Byum's parents have agreed to place him in a psychiatric hospital which was offered by Miss Joanna previously. She points out that a juvenile detention center might be better than a prison, and she doesn't want to make things bigger since the first one to get affected will be the hospital and the second will be the school and the judge and end with the parents. She gives the consent forms to his parents and tells them that the agreement of discharge will on. Why be possible if the primary approver agrees to it? When his parents ask about it, she explains Yang Byum will not be able to leave the hospital unless the primary approver agrees and asks them to take a decision which is either the prison or a juvenile detention center. Yoon Sung receives a text message from Miss Joanna after some time where she informs him that she was successful in taking Yang Byum's parents' consent. Yoon Sung remembers the whole chapter with Yang Byum as flashcards and decides to proceed to the next bastard and puts on a helmet. At an interview place, a reporter gets excited to interview the trending youth icon of the young generation, actor Kang Joon-hyuk. He is a person with a handsome face and cunning mouth. There was a lot of talk about him having a lot of women's issues and is a rising rookie actor, which is thanks to his acting skills that he started from his childhood. With a good fan base, he is now active in the entertainment industry without any problems. The reporter claims he could get some sensitive questions and asks him about his school days. Listening to the reporter's question, Kang Joon-hyuk suddenly stops and with a serious face asks the same question to the reporter, since he started in the entertainment industry at a young age and is also an idol. The girls near the set start to talk about his sudden annoying behavior and wonder if something bad has happened to him. Joon-hyuk says nothing bad has happened to him and claims to have passed his school life smoothly. He shouts at the manager for letting him take such kinds of interviews. Yoon Sung with his helmet walks into the set thinking that one must suppress their volatile personality, and he bullied Yoon Sung even if the person is determined to be a celebrity. When a member spots him and tells Yoon Sung not to come here since they are filming, Yoon Sung hands the person an envelope saying that it is a quick service and he came here for a delivery. Meanwhile in the set, Kang Joon is making a fuss of the situation and directing his frustration towards his manager to refrain from doing such kind of interviews. When Kang Joon shouts at the manager to ready his car to get out of the set, the person who has the envelope announces that a delivery has been made to the set directly, and he thinks it might be some fans. Yoon Sung thinks the person will know what it means as soon as he sees the contents of the envelope because all those things were done to him and is the meaning of his third tattoo. Kang Joon asks him to hand the envelope to him, but the person says the delivery is not for him. Instead it is for the reporter Shin Minwo. Everyone gets shocked to see Minwo get gifts from fans. The manager announces a 10-minute break and the crew members disperse. Kang Joon was curious about the gift Minwo received and asked him about it. Minwo opens the envelope with a smiling face but turns into a gloomy one when he looks at the contents. Kang Joon quickly grabs it from his hand to take a peek into it and sees a picture of 3 young persons, where one of them is Yang Byum and the other is Minwo with an unknown person. Kang Joon labels them as thugs and asks Minwo about the resemblance of him in this photo. Shin Minwo quickly catches Kang Joon's chin and threatens not to tell anyone about the picture or else he will end him. Shin Minwo asks Kang Joon to pretend he saw nothing if he wants to live his celebrity life. Yoon Sung recalls that Shin Minwo is a bastard on a different level than Jo Yang Byum and is more vicious than him. Yoon Sung thinks he should better be prepared since he will be the one waiting to drag him straight into hell. The filming crew decides to start the shoot and asks the actors on the stage to get ready. Shin Minwo suddenly transforms from his threatening mood to a cheerful mood like a switch and asks them to prepare for a shoot. He then apologizes to Kang Joon for not being able to interview him correctly and decides to move on to the next question. Kang Joon wonders what is wrong with him and thinks he is a crazy person. Yoon Sung talks to Miss Joanna while riding his bike and informs her that Shin Minwo was the first person to start bullying him in the past. Park Sang-chul and Jo Yang-byum and others started to bully him after watching Shin Minwo. She questions Yoon Sung why did Shin Minwo start to bully him and asks if he has done something wrong. Yoon Sung asks if she knew the most common cause of school violence and answers that it was just for fun. He clarifies his bullying literally started for no reason. 4 years ago, Yoon Sung was placed in Sangun Middle School and bumped into Shin Minwo on the first day. He recalls he didn't have anything in common with Shin Minwo except for the fact that they were in the same elementary school without knowing each other. Yoon Sung's stomach was hurting at that time and he wanted to go to the toilet as soon as possible and rushed to the toilet. He initially thought of not getting into the eyes of the bullies but got caught by them, who were in the toilet puffing cigarettes. Yoon Sung decides to take a piss and get out of there as soon as possible. He opens the door to see Shin Minwo sitting on the toilet and taking a cigarette. Yoon Sung avoids him and takes a piss at the urinal. That moment was the beginning of everything. In the classroom, Shin Minwo asks Yoon Sung to exchange seats with him for the next class, since the next class is on Korean language. Yoon Sung agrees to him since he thinks it is just for a seat and thought of it as a simple favor towards Shin Minwo. But in reality, Yoon Sung was chosen by Shin Minwo to bully. Yoon Sung's stomach starts to act in the middle of the class and he decides to visit the restroom. At that same moment, Shin Minwo asks him to cover for him since he's feeling sleepy. When Yoon Sung tries to say that he needs to go, Shin Minwo insists him to take it as a favor. Yoon Sung decided to hold it a little but couldn't go to the restroom even for the next 2 classes. Shin Minwo knew about Yoon Sung's urgency and wanted to delay him. In the break time, Yoon Sung managed to get into the toilet. He observes some students out of his restroom taking photos of him while he is on the toilet. They all make fun of him for pooping at that time and they were informed by Shin Minwo. When one of the students asks about the rucks inside the restroom, Shin Minwo shows him the photos of Yoon Sung pooping in the toilet and tells him that the birth of an outcast of the 1st grade has happened right now. He calls him Ji-hoon and asks if he is curious about the reason he chose Yoon Sung. Shin Minwo reveals there was no reason and that he looked easy. He asks Ji-hoon to look at Yoon Sung's expression, who looked stupid and smelled like a weakling. Shin Minwo then asks Han Ji-hoon to take on him since he thinks of weird things and says he needs to go to Park Sang-cheol to inform him about the content he has found. Before Shin Minwo leaves, he tells Han Ji-hoon not to think of what he said earlier since it was a joke. But Han Ji-hoon's mind was already made up to take on Yoon Sung. That was the start of the bullying of Yoon Sung. He had to endure hell, and if Shin Minwo didn't open the gates of hell, Yoon Sung wouldn't have accepted him to be more vicious than Jo Young-beom. In the present, Shin Minwo dropped a text in the group chat asking who has sent him that package while he sits in his car. Looking at the chat, Shin Minwo wonders why Jo Young-beom didn't answer in the chat, which makes him feel uneasy. The driver of the car asks Shin Minwo if he can't find the person who has sent the delivery. Shin Minwo says that he couldn't find him and says that nobody has even seen the face of the delivery person. The driver claims why would the delivery person of a quick service would know such things. While those two were talking in the car, Yoon Sung drives his bike towards them in the opposite direction while he decides that he will exact vengeance on him in a different way than Jo Young-beom since he is a celebrity. Shin Minwo observes the speeding bike towards them and alerts the driver of the car to look in front of him. Both of them collide while trying to avoid each other. Shin Minwo screams at the driver and calls him Oh Young-tae and asks him to do something. Yoon Sung decides to crush Shin Minwo without holding back after following a meticulous plan to take down Jo Young-beom. After the vehicles stop, Yoon Sung walks towards the back seat of the car and breaks the window of the car and grabs Shin Minwo by his neck and throws him out of the car. Yoon Sung starts to punch Shin Minwo on the face after he falls on the ground. Yoon Sung recalls his past where he was informed by the bullies that he was chosen and he cannot do anything about it. While remembering all of the insults, he continues to beat up Shin Minwo on his face. Yoon Sung gives an elbow cut on his head and makes him fall head down on the ground. When Minwo's driver Young-tae runs towards them to rescue Shin Minwo, Yoon Sung punches Young-tae in the face, making him fall back several steps. When Shin Minwo tries to ask who he was, Yoon Sung punches him in the face again and gets on his bike and leaves the scene. Oh Young-tae crawls towards Shin Minwo to see if he is fine. Shin Minwo vows that he will end the person who has beaten them after he gets hold of him. All the reporters are flocked near Shin Minwo, who was admitted in the hospital after his assault. The reporters deliver a barrage of questions to him and ask if he has done something wrong to harbor a grudge against him. Shin Minwo thinks he is some kind of vigilante who goes around beating people instead of a person he knew. At that moment, the CEO of YP Entertainment, Yu Wondong, enters the room with his 2 bodyguards and asks the reporters to leave the room for them. He orders his bodyguards to let them out and walks towards Shin Minwo to tell him that this will be an issue since there are many articles on him and wonders if they are going well. Shin Minwo cuts him off to say that he won't let go of the person who did this to him and he doesn't care about the articles right now. Wondong tells him not to worry since he has already taken care of that person and he has been making calls to get some information about that person. Wondong thinks he has an idea of his temper and is preparing everything for him. He makes a call to a person and tells him not to leave any CCTV and do some background check. He even says that the cops who knew them are willing to help them investigate. The person replies not to get the cops involved since they are going to take care of the person themselves. Yoon Sung opens up his shirt, exposing all the tattoos on his torso and reflecting on them. Meanwhile in the hospital, Shin Minwo looks at his phone and sees the articles written about the incident. Most of them say that a mysterious figure has attacked Shin Minwo while he was trying to save his manager. He takes a deep sigh and puts down his phone. Wondong tells Minwo not to think about it too much and focus on his recovery. Wondong claims they have got a good scenario since he has become a loyal victim by trying to defend the manager. In another location, the people searching for the biker have found the bike in the parking space and turn around to check the surroundings. They see Yoon Sung in the same outfit as before with a helmet and with a wooden stick in his hand. They try to threaten him. At the hospital, the CEO Wondong is on the phone with a reporter. He tells him to make this a big issue since Minwo has been cast in a drama right now. Wondong claims it might help publicize the drama later on. Wondong finishes the call and tells Shin Minwo that the reporter has informed that there was a big uproar. Shin Minwo feels unpleasant. At that moment, Yoon Sung is in the hospital where Shin Minwo is being treated and walks in with the same helmet while dragging the person who was sent in search of him. Wondong suddenly hears a person who is calling out someone who might have barged into the hospital without permission. They hear sounds of beating outside of the room. Wondong and Shin Minwo wonder what's happening outside. Yoon Sung opens the door and shows them the guy who was beaten by him. Yoon Sung takes off his helmet while Wondong runs towards him. Shin Minwo is shocked to see the face of Yoon Sung. Yoon Sung introduces himself as a buddy of Minwo and listening to him. Wondong stops abruptly in confusion when Shin Minwo asks him to stop and admits that he is really his friend who is a classmate from his middle school. He recalls his previous self talking to Sung Cheol and Yang Beum about them being seniors of the school and asks them if they knew Lee Yoon Sung. He directs them to play with Yoon Sung properly since they have to make memories with him without having any problem with anyone. Shin Minwo says he will explain everything and asks Yoon Sung to take a seat for now. When Wondong asks what he is doing, Minwo tells him to close the door first and then talk. Yoon Sung recalls he has heard Minwo will be filming in a drama and thinks that the victim of his school violence has appeared, and then he plans to ask him what he will do in that situation since the person who assaulted him was the victim of his school violence. HW won't be able to do anything to become famous nor do anything in front of the public. Yoon Sung decides to personally open his door to hell. The CEO Yu Wondong sits at his office and recalls the scene at the hospital when Yoon Sung enters the room and claims that he was his middle school friend and not to worry too much since they interact with each other in that manner. When he tries to act on Yoon Sung, Minwo asks Wondong to leave this room for them and says he will explain everything to him later on. Wondong looks at some papers on Minwo and wonders that he had a colorful past. Shin Minwo walks out of the hospital after his discharge, and he gets a lot of text messages from various people. Outside the hospital, reporters flock to see Shin Minwo and ask him questions about the incident in which he was involved. He keeps on walking towards his car quietly without saying a word or giving an expression at them. The reporters wonder about his actions since he should be happy about getting into the headlines. They speculate that his fame is going to reach newer heights after this incident. Shin Minwo reveals his frustration as soon as he got inside the car. The driver asks if he is fine and tells him not to think about going out alone, and the CEO thinks this is an opportunity for him. The driver admits that he also used to bully some kids back in his past and he heard that those kids' revenge only lasts for a while. He bets that they might feel relieved by doing it since they were born with many fears. He tells Shin Minwo not to worry much about him. When they reached his house, they were shocked to see Yoon Sung break into Shin Minwo's house and make a complete mess of it. Yoon Sung claims that he has a nice house and someone had to live in a semi-basement room due to lack of fire insurance. Yoon Sung acknowledges that celebrity life is sweet, and is even jealous of him since he is dating a female celebrity. Minwo is shaking with frustration while the driver is picking up some things. Yoon-sung tells Minwo to relax his face since anyone can see him and conclude that he is the victim in this situation. Minwo thinks that he is going to treat him in this manner and realizes that Yoon-sung wants him to turn himself into his past nature, which is the reason he is trying to provoke him and does not have an intention to accept an apology or give forgiveness. Yoon-sung leaves his house and says that he'll be back since they are buddies. Back in the days when the others were harassing Yoon-sung, Minwo talks to Yongbyum about creating a true education concept like the one similar in social media and thinks he will receive direct messages from girls since they are popular. He whispers to Yongbyum that he knew his type is older girls and gives advice on how to attract them. Yoon-sung is left devastated at that time since Shin Minwo was the trigger to start everything. As the time progressed after some notable incidents in Yoon-sung's life, Minwo visits him while he was in the hospital bed and apologizes to him. He says he felt like apologizing to him even though he didn't make any mistakes. Yoon-sung was able to comprehend what he said. Apology was the basic precaution to become a celebrity since they can later claim that they have accepted the things and apologized, so everything was fine later on. Minwo says he cannot stop him from being bullied. Yoon-sung thinks with tearful eyes that he was the one who started it and was dumbfounded to speak. Minwo asks if that was enough for him and tells him not to say anything about it later on and leaves him. Yoon-sung's mother was watching that scene in his hospital room. Minwo makes a call to his friend in the bike gang crew Bike Toro and tells him to prepare as many kids as possible since Yoon-sung must have learned how to fight. His friend tells him not to worry since he wouldn't be able to fight this many members till the end. His friend asks Minwo if he only contacts him at times like this after becoming a celebrity. Minwo says they will discuss it later and asks him to contact the CEO Lee directly after the work is finished and tells him to pay back many more times. Minwo thinks he has asked for assistance from an old friend and thinks they won't betray their loyalty. After some time, the gang walk into an alley thinking that person must be in and around this area. When they plan to search the whole area for him, he suddenly appears in the alley. They identify him and walk towards him to ask if he was waiting for someone else. Yoon-sung recalls his previous conversation with Miss Joanna about the number of opponents he is going to fight. He thinks of fighting them in an alley since he shouldn't show his back to the mob. When she says that is still reckless of him, he tells her that is not the only reason for him to fight in the alley. The main reason is to stop them from getting away. When they start to attack Yoon-sung in the alley, they suddenly stop to see Chong Su ripping off the guys at the back and ask Yoon-sung if he called him here to handle these insects. Everyone gets overwhelmed when they look at his figure and pooled themselves in the middle of the alley. Yoon-sung's plan was to block the two exits to corner them and beat them up. Chong Su tells them to prepare for getting beaten up by him. He further claims to show them a different level of loyalty between the Joseon people and the dignity of Goryeo. Meanwhile, at the other end, Yoon-sung puts on his helmet and gets ready to fight them. A person refuses to teach Yoon-sung how to fight a mod since it is dangerous. He further says if the opponents bring their weapons, it will be difficult. Yoon-sung says that there is nothing he cannot do and clarifies he must succeed since he is serious about his revenge and he knew what Shin Minwo did to his mother. When Yoon-sung begs him to teach, he says that the first to follow is to never do the fighting alone and must have at least one more person he can trust. He further clarifies that they can minimize the effective area if there were two members and also warns him to protect his occipital area since one can go to a vegetative state in just one shot. While Chong Su is beating up the members of the mob in the alley, Yoon-sung also starts to take down the guys near him. While taking them out, he apologizes to Haben, who was the one who taught Yoon-sung. He apologizes because he is not afraid of anything since there is no one who he has to protect anymore. Meanwhile, Shin Minwo receives a text message from the CEO, asking him to come and meet him. Minwo tells his friend Young-tae that he has to go out for some time. Young-tae asks if the CEO called him and directs Minwo to go since he might help him deal with the problem. Minwo quickly catches him by his chin and questions if he told the CEO that he contacted his friends with a serious face. Minwo gets angry and asks Young-tae if he has forgotten what kind of person he was. Meanwhile, Yoon-sung, who is fighting the mod, thinks he cannot let Shin Minwo get away and he needs to remind him of his trauma. Yoon-sung defeats one of the members who is trying to hit him and gives a low kick, breaking his leg. Chong Su defeats the last standing person and asks if Yoon Sung is satisfied with the loyalty of Goryeo people's dignity. Chong Su says he was surprised when Yoon Sung asked him for his help and says that he won't forget the favors or enemies. So, Chong Su says he doesn't need to pay him for now. Yoon Sung takes out some piles of cash and says he doesn't back out from his word. He recalls his mother has accepted the money, which was the price of his sister's life. Yoon Sung says he doesn't need the money and asks Chong Su to throw it away if he wants to. At the same moment, at Shin Minwo's apartment, Young-tae is beaten up by Minwo. Minwo says he must be aware of the type of person he was since they went to the same school and starts to put his fingers into the mouth of that person. While continuing to torture him by forcefully opening his mouth, Minwo says that he knew how much he has tried to keep his temper under control and have been doing well. He claims his friend's hands will get dirty by ending Yoon Sung and not his and rips his jaw. Minwo thinks if he stays still, a lot of persons who knew him would think of him as a fool and concludes it is bad to live by holding one's temper for too long. Minwo goes to the parking lot with the blood on his hands and observes two people beside his car. Suddenly, the actor Jang Junhyuk walks with his two bodyguards towards him and says Minwo lives so well and points out his inability to drive the car since he is still a minor. Jang Junhyuk claims this is a great timing since he won't be able to say anything even if he gets beaten up. Shin Minwo lets out a deep sigh and gets back to his frustrated face, saying that he won't let this slide and they make it impossible for him to live quietly. When the CEO calls Minwo, he has already taken out those who were trying to get on him in the parking lot. The CEO yells at Minwo for not picking up his phone call quickly and asks if he is with Young-tae right now. Minwo starts to call him sir and then tells him that he will stop being a celebrity since he cannot hold his temper anymore. When the CEO yells at him, Minwo tells him he will continue to be a celebrity if he accepts his temper. He further threatens the CEO that he will leak to the press about his trainee and go down together with him. When the CEO asks what he is talking about, Minwo clarifies that if he doesn't clean up his back, then he will be going down with him. Minwo says that he will show himself as a bastard from that moment and asks him to choose well and hangs up his call. Minwo thinks he will end Lee Yoon Sung and take his PTSD as well and is willing to do anything to send him to hell. He makes a quick call to Sun Young-hwan, who is looking like a thug with tattoos all over and sitting in front of his computer surrounded by 4 dogs. He picks up his call and asks why he gave him a call out of the blue. Minwo asks him to listen to him and briefs about them being targeted by Lee Yoon Sung for his revenge. Minwo tells him he will be his next target and tells him he will be gathering his people to mess with Yoon Sung before he plays with them. After Yoon Sung's elder sister's death, his family was a complete mess and especially his mother was about to lose her sanity. It would be weird if she was not going to be crazy since they lost their house to fire and then the elder sister's death. After a while, Yoon Sung's mother is seen confronting Shin Minwo in an alley. Minwo asks why she keeps on coming to his agency and asks if she is planning to sue him. Minwo questions her if he was the one who burned their house or pushed her daughter to death. He gets all fired up and asks for any evidence that he has done those things. Yoon Sung's mother thought everything was done by Shin Minwo after she witnessed Minwo apologize to Yoon Sung at the hospital. Seeing her son tormented by his words, she believed that it was the work of Shin Minwo. Minwo threatens to sue for bothering him since the day he apologized to Yoon Sung in the hospital. He questions how she got his phone number since it is a violation of personal information and that his agency will sue her. He threatens her to not come back to him again or else his agency will destroy her house in moments. Minwo was actually lying and Yoon Sung's mother couldn't help but get deceived by him since she only studied till elementary school and his elder sister was responsible for both his studies and money management. When Minwo continues to threaten her with empty words like asking for evidence and something on sending them to the pits of the abyss, she couldn't control because she has no one to complain about and came to see him as a last effort. She burst into tears while hitting herself in the chest and claimed that she was at fault. Minwo asks her if she has admitted to being wrong and asks for her phone. At present, Young-hwan, who was on the phone with Minwo, says that it is none of their business since he was the one who did all those things to Yoon Sung and asks if he is taking precautions to not expose such things these days. Young-hwan calls him a retard for becoming a celebrity with such a background. Listening to his words, he rages up on Young-hwan. He tells Minwo to just kneel in front of Yoon Sung and beg for his forgiveness, which might end this situation, and ends his call. Minwo kicks the car in rage and talks to himself that Yoonghwan was no use at all and thinks if he would finish Yoon-sung all by himself. He suddenly remembers the mob he is sent to take care of Yoon-sung and tries to contact them, but none of them lift his phone calls since they are unconscious. Minwo realizes the situation and starts to think what he can do right now. He starts to think of a best choice that is most advantageous to him since he is going to film in a drama soon and a lot of entertainment shows are flooding him after the recent incident. He tries to think of the most suitable option for him since his opportunity to rise as a celebrity is right in front of him. He decides on the only choice he has. When Yoon-sung reaches Minwo's house with Chong Su, he kneels in front of him and starts to cry and apologize with utmost sincerity. Minwo thinks that is the only way for him to continue to live a celebrity life. He claims to have been crazy for doing such things to him and apologizes for pretending to not know anything. He also says he couldn't tell him even if he had 10 mouths and claims that he would stop being a celebrity if Yoon-sung asks for it. Yoon-sung thinks that the Satan-like Shin Minwo is apologizing and even kneeled before him and starts to recall the past incidents which involved him. Yoon-sung asks Minwo to stand up and gives his hand. Minwo quickly grabs his hand and offers his thanks for accepting his apology. Yoon-sung suddenly asks what he was talking about and questions when he did accept his apology and breaks his arm. Yoon-sung asks if he looks like a fool to him and thinks that he knew all the things he has done to him in the past. Shin Minwo tells Yang Beom about Yoon-sung's mother coming to his agency and bothering him. When Yang Beom said that he can just send her daughter's insurance money, Shin Minwo asks if they are disgusting and pretending to be the victims. He decides to teach them true education since he can't let this be. He informed Yang Beom that he has installed a phishing software in the phone of his mother while she apologized to him earlier since he thought of her as a stupid person. After that, Yang Beom took all the insurance money from her since he has given a lot of money to them. When her mother reaches the bank to check her account, she is shocked when the bank personnel says that she has only 3 million won in her account. The personnel claims that there was a record of the money being remitted and asks her to confirm it. She reaches out for help from the police and informs her they were unable to trace the money since all those accounts were fake, and they were connected to overseas accounts. In a coincidental unfortunate incident, his mother lost her elder sister's insurance money for a phishing scam, and the bank and police said there was no way to find the money. Yoon-sung asks why he would forgive Minwo easily since his life was ruined because of him and thinks that Minwo believes that he doesn't know anything about the truth that he has scammed his mother for the money. When Minwo is struggling with the pain of his broken arm, Yoon-sung catches his broken arm and starts to hit him while saying that he doesn't know about the situation he is in and asks him to listen to him very carefully. Yoon-sung decides to tell Minwo what made him come so far and tells him that he has come for his revenge and not for his apology. Yoon-sung questions if this is a joke and saying a few words of apology will solve everything. He continues to torment Minwo and claims starting now, his life will be a cruel documentary instead of an entertainment program and leaves him on the ground. Minwo continues to ask for an apology even when he is being tortured and says that he didn't know he'd suffer this much. Minwo also claims that he will live the rest of his life apologizing to him and his elder sister. Yoon-sung thinks Shin Minwo is apologizing and concludes that fist is better than law and institutional redemption is of no help for the victims, and after all these revenges, they should at least apologize to him. Yoon-sung thinks Shin Minwo would have never apologized if he didn't take this step. After a while, Minwo is seen signing a contract and the other party claims it was an honor to serve such an important person. They ask if that injury to the hand was from the manager incident and Minwo agrees. He says it is like a medal of honor to him. Shin Minwo has been cast as the main character in the school violence drama called Time of Violence. Minwo has been rising in terms of his celebrity status and many articles are being written about him. Minwo is clearly at the peak stage of his life. He states that he is grateful for everyone's interest in him and to repay it, he will be a better version of himself in the future. He thinks just by bending his pride once, he is able to achieve a smooth life, a real jackpot. Minwo sits with the CEO of the entertainment company where he says that everything has worked out pretty well for him. He calls the head manager Park and questions Minwo's schedule. He replies that there are several interviews and photo shoots and radio shows. The CEO is impressed after hearing this and says that this life is hard to predict. Minwo thinks that these guys wouldn't be able to do anything when he was assaulted and threatened. Minwo decides to wait till his contract ends and teach them a lesson. The CEO asks Minwo if he has read the terms carefully before signing the contract. When Minwo says that he checked them and asks why, the CEO clarifies all his dramas are pre-production and claims he needs to check on a lot of things beforehand and thinks about a clause where if the party B causes conflict that hampers the progress of the work, the other party can sue him for damages. While signing, Minwo was told that they need some kind of insurance for it, and Minwo signed it since a celebrity should be able to save his image in the public, and also Yoon Sung has already forgiven him. The CEO questions what might happen if there was a problem after the pre-production and gives out a quirky laugh and says it will be a problem if things go south since he is on a roll right now. When Minwo asks what might be the penalty amount, the CEO replies it is usually about 3 times that of the down payment, which is quite a lot. The CEO asks if he resolved the situation with his friend who visited him at the hospital. He points out that things will be troublesome since it was about school violence. Minwo bites his lip and in a controlled anger says that he has resolved. When the CEO asks Minwo if he is sure that he resolved things, Minwo agrees. Then the CEO calls them inside the room. Yoon Sung along with a lady entered the room. The lady greets Minwo and says they are coming from MBS and would like to conduct a brief interview on his school violence. She claims to get tips from Yoon Sung that Shin Minwo used to bully him throughout his school days. Yoon Sung stood on his words, that he would pull him down from his peak and wondered if he had enjoyed the peak to his heart's content. The lady says his agency claimed Minwo didn't do such things and they have given a green signal to them to verify. The CEO questions Minwo that he said he has taken care of it and asks if he has money for the penalty fees. He then sarcastically says he sure doesn't have any since he has just started and claims the agency will cover the costs. The CEO then tells him not to worry since there are many ways he can repay the money even if his image is ruined. Minwo suddenly realizes that he is done for and has no way out of this and he messes up with the wrong person. The CEO, with a sadistic smile on his face, says they can still work together.